Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette and I make videos talking about my experiences, my life as a New Zealander living in Germany. So I actually recently made a video talking about some of the culture shocks, actually the reverse culture shocks that I experienced when I travelled back to New Zealand after being away for over 5 years. And many of you really enjoyed this video, and actually when I came to the end of that video I realised, oh my goodness, there are so many more reverse culture shocks that I have not shared, so I have decided to make a part 2. So I will be jumping into that really soon, but first I would like to give a big thanks to NordVPN for partnering with me in this video today. NordVPN is the fastest, most reliable VPN service out there, and it's something I use on a regular basis to help me stay connected to New Zealand culture while living here in Germany. I also love that NordVPN provides data protection, which keeps your online activity secure and private. So if you don't know what a VPN is, it is essentially a browser extension which tricks your browser into thinking you're in a different country. NordVPN has over 5,500 servers in 59 different countries, and with just one click you have instant access to all of the media available in whatever country you choose. Another amazing way to use NordVPN is something I only recently discovered, and this is to book cheaper flight tickets. I wish that I had known about this earlier. My friend recently booked some tickets to New Zealand and she got an incredible deal. She worked out that India had the cheapest deals, which is crazy, like mind-blowing. So this is something you can try out, and I am definitely going to use her tip next time and connect my VPN to different countries when I am looking for plane tickets, and maybe this is something that you can try out. I think this is genius. So if you think that NordVPN is something you might be interested in exploring, I will leave a link for where you can do so in my description below. So if you click on my link in my description, you will have access to a 2-year plan with an exclusive deal plus 4 bonus months free. Okay guys, so let's jump into it in no particular order. One of the reverse culture shocks that I experienced not long after arriving in New Zealand was the self-serving checkout machines. I felt really out of touch when I went into shops in New Zealand. If you're living in Germany, you're probably thinking, but we do have these self-serve checkouts here. But it's different. In New Zealand, they have like taken over, and here in Germany, you see them like once in a while at some supermarkets and some shops. You may see them, but people hardly ever use them. They're a little bit scared. I think here in Germany people are just so used to doing things, you know, the old-fashioned way and having people serve them that it just throws them off if they see one of these self-serve checkouts. At a local supermarket just down the road from me, they have recently introduced these self-serve checkouts, and they are always empty. Like, I don't think I have once seen somebody use them. In New Zealand, everybody uses them and they are just everywhere in every big shop or supermarket. I felt very out of touch. And also the fact that everyone in New Zealand pays with a card. You hardly ever see anybody paying with cash. People have been using their debit card to pay for basically everything in New Zealand for like over 20 years, for as long as I can remember. And here in Germany, cash is still king. It's still not really a thing to use your debit card to pay for just everyday, just smaller purchases. When I would use cash to pay for smaller items, I would get this like weird look, like, okay, like it's accepted, but it's just not something that a lot of New Zealanders do. And I just felt just so out of touch with paying for things. I would always be just really like nervous when I went up to pay for things in New Zealand, because I just had forgotten how everything worked and things had changed since I was living there or since I had visited. Okay, so another reverse culture shock I experienced when I was back in New Zealand was the price of food and products. New Zealand is notorious for having very high food prices, and I often talk about this in my videos. Before coming to New Zealand, I was hearing from family and friends that food prices had skyrocketed. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I can't imagine food being any more expensive than when I was last in New Zealand. That shocked me. But when I came back this time, I was shocked in another way. Prices of certain food products in New Zealand were extremely expensive, a lot more than what you would be paying in Germany for the same item, for the same product. But there were other products that were just quite reasonably priced and actually were less expensive than what I would be paying here in Germany. Obviously, Obviously, due to inflation, the food prices have gone up all over the world, and Germany is no exception. And so I've been noticing over the last few years, food prices here in Germany have skyrocketed also. So sometimes we'd go to the supermarket in New Zealand and do a big shop, and I think to myself, I don't think this was any more expensive than what I would have paid in Germany. And then other times I'd go and I'd think, oh my goodness, this is outrageous. It was really just kind of a little bit out of balance. One day I was at the supermarket and I wanted to get some veggies and some fruit, and I noticed that cucumbers were $8 each, just for one cucumber. $8, and I was like, no thanks. Also, tomatoes in New Zealand were so expensive at the time I was there, and we just did not buy tomatoes because it wasn't worth it. This tends to happen with produce that is out of season in New Zealand. I definitely found that the more sort of mass-produced items like chips and crisps and things like that, and all the like the snacky things like muesli bars and that type of thing, they were very reasonably priced. It just depends on what you're buying, but I did find it to be a little bit sort of out of balance. And something I was also really shocked about is how inexpensive some of the items like clothing, the clothing items were in New Zealand, particularly children's clothing. There is this big department store called Kmart. They also have Kmart in Australia, and they have a lot of products that are imported from China, and you can buy the cutest, super on-trend clothes for little kids at Kmart for next to nothing. You do have to wonder, when products are super inexpensive like that, how ethical are their practices? I don't know, I was just really blown away, like shocked by the low prices of especially the clothing in shops like Kmart, and also the Warehouse, which is another department store. I actually did a little bit of research because I just couldn't work out why the prices were so low, and I found out that New Zealand and China have this free trade agreement, and that's why a lot of the Chinese products in New Zealand are just ridiculously cheap, like dirt cheap, and the prices in Germany for similar products are definitely not that cheap. Germany does not have this agreement with China apparently, and so that will explain the low prices. And in New Zealand they have a lot of these little knick-knacky shops like the 123 shop, the $2 shop. We have the €1 shop in Germany, but I think a lot of the products at the €1 shop are made in Germany. But these shops in New Zealand, most of the products are made in China and ridiculously cheap. I mean, it's fun looking through these shops and seeing these really cool, trendy items for next to nothing. But as I said, I don't know how ethical the practices are and all of that. So that was just something that I noticed this time around in New Zealand, that you can buy a lot of really cheap, really cool things. Another reverse culture shock this time around in New Zealand was the weather. So we traveled to New Zealand in the middle of winter, so the end of July, beginning of August, and we were there for the whole of August. Usually during this time it's cold in New Zealand. It's not as cold as what it would be in Germany during the middle of winter, but it's definitely cold, and you know, you need a jacket and you need to heat your home because the homes in New Zealand get super cold. But honestly, during the whole month that I was in New Zealand, I did not feel cold at all. I was really blown away by how warm the weather was. When I got off the plane in Auckland, New Zealand, and we stepped outside the airport, I was like, this is meant to be the middle of winter and it feels like spring or autumn in Germany. And the sky was like bright blue, and I didn't even have to wear a jacket. The kids didn't have to wear jackets. I was thinking, is this what the New Zealand winter is actually like? Maybe I've forgotten. Maybe I've been away from New Zealand for so long that I had forgotten that it just doesn't get very cold at all. I actually think the weather in New Zealand while we were there was actually a lot nicer than what it would have been in Germany during that time, because I was looking at the temperatures in Germany and they were getting up to almost 40 degrees, and you know, when it gets that hot it's just pretty much unbearable and you can't do a lot outside. So I was actually really enjoying the weather in New Zealand, where it was like 20, 22 degrees, blue sky, sunshine. My only theory is climate change. Why were the temperatures so warm in New Zealand during the middle of winter, and why were the temperatures just so hot in Germany, like unbearably hot, up to 40 degrees Celsius during summertime? It has to be global warming, and it's actually quite scary. Last but not least, one of the reverse culture shocks I experienced when I was back in New Zealand was the amount of fast food chains on every single corner. I remember there being a lot of fast food chains when I was living in New Zealand, but not as many as there is now. I noticed that it is so much cheaper to buy fast food in New Zealand than it is in Germany, and your average German does not eat nearly as much fast food as your average New Zealander. So in my hometown of Hastings, there is a street called Hiratonga Street West. It's a really long street that stretches through Hastings, and on that street there are so many fast food chains. So I'm actually going to be reading out a list of some of the fast food chains on the street, not all of them, but some of them, just to give you a little bit of an idea. So just on Hiratonga Street West alone, there is KFC, there's McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's Pizza, Burger Fuel, Subway, Pizza Hut, Midway Fast Food, Carl's Jr., which is a burger chain, Paresis, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is an Indian fast food chain, Kipper's West Takeaways, which is a fish and chip shop, Fishtown Takeaways, Golden Spring Takeaways, they have Hoa Takeaways, I've never heard of that one. Another Domino's Pizza, did I just say Domino's Pizza? I think there's two. Thai Spice Indian Takeaways, they have John's Bakery, they have Kama Sushi, they have a Turkish kebab place. The list goes on and on, like it's never ending. There are so many takeaway chains on this one street. In the German town where I live, there are hardly any takeaway chains. We've got one McDonald's, and it's never really that busy. I don't think Germans, like, they go to McDonald's, but it's not like super popular. We have a couple of Döner places, which is like a Turkish kebab place. It's like a German style of kebab. And what else do they have? I think there's like, I don't know, there's a couple of Asian takeaway places and not much more, maybe a few pizza places. And you know, in some of the bigger cities, of course, there are a lot of takeaway chains, but not nearly as many as you would see in New Zealand. So this is something that I was pretty shocked about coming back to New Zealand. I mean, it's convenient and it's nice that the prices are inexpensive, but it's a huge problem when it comes to the health of New Zealanders. When you're paying something outrageous like $8 for a cucumber, and then you can get a combo meal at McDonald's for less than half that price, something is not adding up. So guys, that is all I've got for this video today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I actually realized that there are quite a few more reverse culture shocks that I experienced when I was in New Zealand. I think I might need to make a part 3. Also, if you are interested in checking out NordVPN, I will leave a link for where you can do so in my description below. If you click on my link, you will have access to a 2-year plan with an exclusive deal, plus 4 bonus months free. It's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!